right, Cheryl's still not waiting to get in, and you guys are good to go.
Not her. No calls from her, no emails, so. Hey Cassie,
Yep,
can you just shoot her the invite again to the meeting? Make sure she got it.
okay. I'll be able to find her in your email.
She should pop up in my email if you're on mine.
Okay.
You don't know the combination.
Want me to let you in, Larry?
No, let's see if you can figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah. Ah, I take my glasses off though. Success.
Dave not coming back from you.
Is this what he does for a living?
He usually does this canopy, vinyl canopies.
He had another full-time job that he was gonna leave to do this full-time. Has he yet? 'Cause I think he's gotten busy enough to where that's what he was gonna do full-time.
Like the sales itself, that he's gonna sew, like that's what he's used to working with, that type of material. He said that what he would use is gonna be better than what you can buy. I don't know if he put that in there, but that's what he was telling me.
Right, we're live on YouTube, right, Cassie?
Yep,
16.
you're good to go.
Oh, look, wow, maybe it's not. Depends on how you-
Sure. I thought it would be like 9.
Yeah, the way they.
Did you hear me that you're good to go, Paula?
I told them they could go, but they aren't listening.
All right.
At least twice.
Maybe it's the size of the triangles.
It's a private meeting right now with Mr. Brink and Mr.
Budnick.
Bud.
Struck the roll, man.
Everybody's
Rock
ready?
and roll, 6:09.
Let's hit it. Get it over with. We have
We do have a guest.
a guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I really just can't remember all of it. I think it's Christopher Jermaine. I think I know most of you guys at this stage, the senior redevelopment ready communities planner. So this will be his due for his biannual RC check-in. So Paula got caught up. We're gonna stick around and watch you meet in this one. If you guys have any questions about the PDA type of plan too, just coming up on the agenda. Speak a lot more. Okay, so.
Minutes. Anything we need to change?
Yeah, motion. I'll second.
Second,
Sure.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do we have, did she send you
Treasurer's report?
Treasurer?
Yeah, it's in the packet.
a? Yeah. Oh, income, 55 cents. Rocket.
Man, don't stop. that.
Let's make a huge project list right now. Expenses, space forward, 1874.96. for Richard. And balance 63, 462, 76. Outstanding. Is the print, is that the map? How it took I'm assuming
Yes,
ad out at the City Hall?
no,
No, it's just the ad.
I think that's the ad for the county one that we did.
Okay. Adam got you face forward, Rosemary face forward, and Boyd, which it's like I have this check right here. She has those as outstanding. Balance including outstanding is 52,370. Anybody got any questions?
Motion to approve as written.
Second.
Got a second?
Sure.
Double. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed?
Get a hold of Cheryl yet?
She said she was waiting, but she's not, and I sent her the invite, so hopefully she'll get in here.
Okay,
She coming or she's?
it shows she's waiting?
No, she said she was waiting in an email here now that but
Well, it's weird because I just got a council meeting, council chambers tried to join your meeting, start the meeting, so. I don't know. Do we have 2 meetings going?
I don't think so, but
Do you have does she have the regular meeting number? What number do you have? Is it end in 8664? You there?
Oh, stump the clerk.
yep, that's the right one. Sorry, I muted myself and then was talking.
Well, she must not be in 8664, or you need to restart it or something. Maybe she was there before the DPW meeting ended. Can you call her?
Oh, there she is. She just showed up.
So Cheryl is gonna join us. she's been
She's
here.
joining right now.
Okay, from the Small Business Development Center. And we're gonna start talking about how to fill our vacancies downtown, but timely enough, there's another main program coming, so we could apply to give 2 businesses up to $25,000 each or something. Yep. So Cheryl was gonna kind of talk about that, and then how we had talked about wanting to work with trying to get to know what's going on downtown a little bit better so that we can work on trying to fill some of those vacancies with things that we need. Cheryl, you there?
I am.
We'll let you do your thing.
All right. Well, I'm sorry that I had so much difficulty getting in, but this Zoom connection worked very well. So I apologize for being late, but I really was waiting. This is kind of in follow-up to the session that we had a few months ago when I was in Langsberg talking about the services that SBD provides to local entrepreneurs or local business owners. And near the end of that meeting, there was some conversation about how SBDC might be able to help as you are looking at filling some of the vacant buildings in the downtown area and making some decisions about businesses that you would like to recruit into those vacancies. So, the things that SBD does very well, that SBDC does very well, is to work with local entrepreneurs, local business owners, people that are wanting to start a business or people that are wanting to purchase an existing business, or maybe a business owner who is looking to grow their existing business. So things like business plans, projected cash flows, helping put loan packages together so that an entrepreneur is prepared to make the ask to a lender for financing that would help them, marketing plans, helping with business owners that are taking the step into being an employer, where maybe this has been just the business owner themselves for a period of time. Those are the kinds of things that SBDC could bring to the table to help in this process of recruiting businesses to fill existing real estate. And I have talked after the last meeting, I did go back and speak to the Chamber of Commerce in Owasso, the Shiawassee Regional Chamber, as well as to the SEDP, the Shiawassee Economic Development Partnership. And the three organizations, those two and SBDC, work very closely together when we're working with small businesses. And they both indicated an interest in helping with this process as well. So we're ready to bring the skills that we have to the table and assist you in any way that we could do that in looking at recruiting businesses to your community. And Paula, have you had some conversation about the Match on Main that we talked about last week?
We just started to talk before you. So.
Okay. Match on Main is a program that I've been very involved with in the downtown Owasso area. They have participated in a couple rounds of that grant project, and we don't have the details yet about what's going to be required for this fall. But if it's similar to what they have required in the past, we have helped the businesses prepare their packages for the Match on Main program. And certainly I could do that for businesses in Langsberg that were interested in submitting for consideration as well.
Does that cost anything?
For my assistance to the business owners?
Yes.
No, because that's the heart of what we do. Our mission is to help businesses launch and grow. And so things like business planning, cash flows, all those things that I talked about are services that we provide at no cost because we are funded by the Small Business Administration. Because they fund us, we don't charge for our services.
So do you guys remember, I don't remember when the last round came out, but we sought people to put in applications. It was a very short window. And we had two that kind of had an application together, but they really weren't what we needed to turn in a good competitive application to Match on Main.
That was the COVID one?
No, one after that, but we never really turned in that one because
Okay.
we didn't feel like we had. So you guys, that process would be the same. We would reach out to the businesses, would tell them about the program. And then the hard part is you guys have to decide which two get to apply for the money. And it's up to $25,000 for two applications. So each applicant could get $25,000.
And this can be a business that is already in business. and
Correct.
It can be a new business.
It's more, we haven't got all the details yet, but everything I'm hearing is it's a little more geared toward people who are already here.
But it could also be used for someone who is launching a business. The other thing to consider as well is that it's a reimbursement grant if it's done the way it has been in the past, which means that the funds have to be expended and then the business owner is reimbursed for those expenses, allowable expenses up to $25,000. So everyone needs to know that going in, that it's a reimbursement-based grant.
Is there amount of money that they have to spend to get up to that amount?
There has not been in the past, but again, we don't have all the details for this round that's coming yet this fall.
So they wouldn't have to put in, say, 50,000 of their own to get the match.
No, it might be a one-to-one match.
Okay,
Right, but in the past, it has not been more than that.
okay. So what we need to do is try to channel either a business that's already here towards you or a business that is looking to open or try to get open in this area. Do they have to be in our district?
They have to be in your redevelop, well, assuming that it's the way it was in the past, they had to be in the designated area, which for you would be your redevelopment area. In
Yeah.
Owasso, they had to be in the downtown district.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, they would have to be in the DDA district.
which makes sense if we're, that's what I was asking, because if you said.
You don't want to try to get somebody outside, you don't want to try to tell. them.
Well, if we're giving up who's doing it, then I would think they'd have to be in our business.
Well,
or
so the
district.
first thing is that either the city or the DDA has to be the applicant. And we would handle trying to get a hold of everybody, figuring out who wants to apply. And then like in the very end, decide which two are eligible, good enough projects to send in to be funded. So what I'm asking, my ask would be, does the DDA want to be that applicant? Because I feel like it should be the DDA. This should be the applicant.
But it does limit us then to our district.
I think even if it's the city, it limits you to our district.
Oh, it does?
Christopher, do you think that's true?
I think it's true.
I still think it's the DDA district, only.
It's not the city of Langsberg, even if the city of Langsberg is the one that is.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, I think the Match on Main program is for eligible DDAs or,
Just looking at the website, the past rounds have been focused on.
that's what I'm looking at too, is the website trying to.
Typically, all we fund in community development is the traditional downtown areas.
I'm trying to determine if there's a match, but I haven't seen that. I don't see right now that there's a match.
well then, that,
So basically, we would do all that legwork. Oh, well, there we go, I found it. Total grant award, 25,000, required match, 2,500. Yeah. So,
And Paula, does it say it is reimbursable based?
Main Street is a reimbursement grant program. If awarded, grantees will submit copies of paid receipts of eligible expenses that align with the project budget. So yes, and it's a 10% match, with the max being 25,000. So the project would be 27.5 and they would get 25,000. So for instance, if somebody needed a new POS system, they could apply to get that. They would pay for it, they would get reimbursed. They could get a new point of sale system. Somebody needed a bigger grill. Somebody needed bigger pizza ovens. Somebody wanted to.
External window.
Yep. I mean, so we could ask people what, you remember last time we did this, I begged these people to please be ready because this will come again. We're not ready right now, but we need to be ready. So hopefully somebody's been thinking about what they want to do, because they need to be forward thinking. They need to start thinking about what they want to do to move forward.
but in this case, the way you're talking is, let's say if there was a new business trying to open, would there be restraints on the money if it's not enough that they open in a certain amount of time, you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
so we don't have enough, I mean, right now, basically, I don't know. last week, Thursday, Friday, I got the email that this was coming. Today, just before this meeting, I got the email with a link to the website giving us some preliminary information. So we don't know all the answers yet. We don't know the deadline. We don't know when the grant opens.
So now would be the time to.
Right, so we don't know any of that
Find out.
information.
Yeah.
So basically what we need to talk about is if we want to be the applicant, we want to partner with Cheryl to help these applications get moving along. And then, you know, I mean, you have to be prepared that you're going to have to determine which two businesses, if we have enough. But from the face forward we had, I mean, we had more face forward than we could fund, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's projects out there.
It has to be a business, correct?
Well, I'm sure it does. Yeah, I don't think it's for residents.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you think of any reason why we wouldn't? want to
I
do
can't,
this?
no.
I can't.
But I
either.
still need this DDA to agree to be the applicant, you know? And I don't know if that excludes the people that own businesses from being applicants.
Sit on the board.
Right, either. So, I mean, I would have to find that out.
Or, right, they'd have to abstain from being part of the selection.
Correct. They could probably put in an application, but then they couldn't vote or something. So hopefully it
So they
doesn't.
can't, I wouldn't think you could even vote to be.
Right, right,
Right.
so,
That would
but
seem
I
a little
mean,
risky.
I think that if the DDA isn't the applicant, that the city could be. But I think that, you know, I really like to see the DDA be, you know, the body that moves this along, because I think that that's where it belongs.
Do we need to make a motion? Or is this?
You can, but I mean, I just need to know that that's what you guys, you
Yeah,
know,
we kind of put it in writing and then put it in our, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be part of our agenda to try to get it moved. I mean, we're only in the getting someone to even be interested.
right, the last time, I mean, we had a real short window. Remember, we had like maybe 6 weeks, a month, I don't know. And
Get it all
yeah.
together.
well, hopefully, you know, we have a little longer because we just got that last week. And then, you know, as soon as we get enough information, if you guys tell me tonight it's a go, then we'll start sending information to the businesses. We'll send the businesses to Cheryl to help with the prep and the planning. And then we have to determine which two applicants are worthy of the $25,000.
And
then
usually in the information that comes from MEDC, they identify some priorities. For example, job creation has always been a priority. So if project A is approved for, let's say, $25,000, will it create jobs? So we need to look at what they are publishing about this round of grants to see what is being identified as priority, and make sure that the grants that you decide to submit are ones that specifically include the areas of priority.
Well, since we don't know all the parameters and details of the grant, I mean, it seems like right now we should just make a motion. I would make a motion on behalf of, you know, I would make a motion regarding the Match on Main program that the DDA take that on as an initiative pending details on the program parameters. Does that make sense? I mean,
Basically, yeah,
basically, I mean, we
get
could
the
change
ball
our
rolling.
minds later if
Yeah.
we determine that the program parameters just aren't a good fit. But for now, certainly the DDA, I would make a motion that the DDA take that on. I agree with you. I don't think it belongs with the city as much as the DDA.
Says eligible applicants include local units of government, downtown development authorities, Michigan Main Street programs, or other community or economic development organizations. So those have to be the applicants.
wait a minute, you said the Downtown Development Authority also?
Yeah, you're the applicant.
Okay,
So that's who would be the applicant.
So you collect them. we
And the
collect.
only reason we're eligible for the Main Street is because we're redevelopment ready. So
So basically, Cheryl, if it sounds like we're going to take on that project as trying to get someone headed in your direction. And then from that point, you can help them get their paperwork arranged.
Yes, and typically what they have required in previous rounds has been a business plan, 3 years of financial projections, previous tax returns, a resume of the business owner. So a lot of the same things that would be required if you were going to a bank for a business loan. But the MEDC typically has a list of documents that they are looking for to accompany the application.
So the following eligibility requirements apply. The business needs to be located in the boundaries of the applicant, which would be the DDA district. It's a traditional downtown historic neighborhood commercial corridor. That's us. The business must sell products and or services face to face and have a physical location within the downtown. It's gotta be a storefront. Businesses have to have or intend to have, so it's gotta be somebody who's already in business then.
Well, especially if they need all this.
The business will have to have or intends to have control over the site, or, okay, so they could be buying a site, right? That which they are applying prior to match on main application. Changes in the proposed business location after the grant selection may result in no funding. The business may be operating as a for-profit or nonprofit, and the business is headquartered in Michigan. Obviously, if they're gonna have storefronts. So, ineligible, if
and
you're
it-
ineligible, if you're a franchise, including independent contractor, businesses located in strip malls unless located in an area zoned and approved for future concentrated mixed use, big box retailers, businesses whose primary sales come from marijuana, CBD, tobacco, or other businesses deemed ineligible for MEDC must not have received or been approved or will receive support from the MEDC Match on Main Grant Program within the last 36 months. A business will not be excluded if they have been awarded the COVID response money. So, and then it
And
goes
in-
on to list the eligible expenses and that kind of stuff.
And in the past, if you were a business that was launching, you had to be within a given window from being ready to launch. So they wouldn't let you apply if you weren't going to be able to open your business until a year from now. So there was a window of time within which you needed to be ready to launch your business in order to apply.
So we'll just have to delve into the details and get information out to the businesses that qualify. And then hopefully at the October meeting, we would have some more information. I would assume the deadline maybe, November, December. I don't know what that's not out yet.
Right.
October 1st, there's supposed to be a webinar or something about what the application looks like.
So if we get you any applicants or even getting interest from businesses in the next month before we meet again, if we get that towards you, could you at least meet with us again next month to fill us in on any other information you get?
Yes, I certainly can. I would ask this, that you, as the DDA, would be the entry point for any of the businesses in Langsberg. And that you would then, just shoot me an email and say, this person is interested in applying for Match on Main. We've provided them with your contact information. Because I think as the local authority in your community, they need to be coming to you first, and then you providing my information as a person who can help them. But I think the point of entry should be your organization.
Okay, makes sense. Anybody got any other questions?
I made a motion.
Yes.
Let's vote. Yeah, All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we will get the ball rolling towards you.
All right, very good.
Okay, and we'll have them come to us. Maybe we can even convince them that they come to our October meeting.
Okay,
And then that way we can kind of introduce you, get you, or them at least headed in your direction, get you hooked up together, and then go from there.
that would be fine.
All right?
All right, very good.
Anything else?
I think that takes care of, the assistance we can provide to the Manch on Main program.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Hi, Cheryl, thank you.
Bye. Mhm.
Okay,
So that kind of
So-
took care of both 3 and 4.
so are you going to electronically?
We'll do what we did last time. We'll send out some emails. If we don't get responses from everyone, then we kind of reach out with a phone call or a personal visit. That's what we did last time.
How many direct businesses in the district? Well,
No, I think it was more than that. Cassie, was it 20 something, 20?
but they have to be,
Right.
they can't
You
be,
have to be a retailer.
So we have, I mean, I don't know if Rose Villa, hers is hard to determine whether she qualifies or not.
selling something.
Right.
Right.
And then we got the pharmacy. I don't know that they're a big name chain, but maybe that is. Then we got the physical therapy place. They're not retail, but they're professional. I mean, they have a storefront, so I would say they qualify. The hardware store. Then we have the hair shop. We got the dance studio, the eye doctor, the bakery. We have a new business going in at Bellins, so maybe she needs something. We had 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shinsky, I don't know if that is or not.
Shinsky would count. We got the dentist office, they would count.
The vet
11.
veterinarian, the vet.
Yep, Shinsky's the vet. And then we got PDPs, Twilligers, the clothesline. Because I don't think Specialties would qualify because they're a chain. Well, it's not Specialties anymore. When
I
the
was
gas
just trying to
station.
think what you're talking about, Sean.
Sorry, it's Specialties to me.
So there's maybe around 16.
I think last
somewhere
time
in
we
there.
had 15 to 17,
Okay.
somewhere in there
Yeah.
that qualify.
Room taxes.
So we can at least give them email or mailing,
Mhm.
something. The Restaurant too,
Bakery.
bakery.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. So, I mean, last time we reached out to everyone that we thought was eligible. And then we followed up. If we didn't hear from them, then we followed up again, and then we made a personal visit. So, I mean, we at least gave each of them the opportunity to apply.
Best we can do.
And I think that with Cheryl on board to help them with their end of the application, that makes a big difference. They don't have to have Cheryl's help.
Right.
But if they want Cheryl's help, which I feel like
Sure think they
from
would. Why
some
wouldn't
of the
you?
applications we even received in the, for our program, I feel like some of them could have used Cheryl's help. You know what I mean? Just to make a nice application. Because if I'm sending it in and it's gonna compete with others around the state in, Traverse City or Boyne City or Charlevoix or whatever, you gotta have a decent application. And that's why last time we didn't turn one in, because we didn't feel we did. So,
Okay. We'll see what happens. Get them their info, we'll see. And try to get them here too.
I can do that.
I mean, you know what I mean, kind of stress that. Get them to show their face and then we'll connect.
Well, and plus I could kind of look through the face forwards we have, see if any of those were something that might, apply.
Try to.
And then the last time that we reached out to all the businesses, they had thoughts and ideas, maybe some of those they built on or, so.
Okay. We have 2 new customers. You guys,
So they're here for the sales.
oh, okay.
So the only other thing we had was the TIFA plan, which I don't have an update on, other than it's not ready yet, so. I did get an email at 4:45 tonight, but until I read it and go through it, I'm not bringing it back to you. So next month. Then Christopher's not gonna fire me, so.
Really?
So can you just tell us, can you just tell us generally where it is at?
So, this is my hybrid version of it. I like updated everything, sent them pictures, told them what maps I wanted. And there's just like a whole bunch of different formatting here. So I sent it to them for formatting and, haven't really got anything back from them for the format, but we got a call today from the map people and I worked with Adam a little bit to help get us some stuff to send to the map people for shape files. We got a lot of pictures they need to add yet, but I put all the stuff in there that we've talked about and then I want them to package it into a nice pretty little plan that I just don't have the capability to design that plan and to fix everything that, it would just take me forever. So that we're just waiting for them to do that. And I think the email I got tonight has that mostly put together. They just need to add the maps and the photos now. So hopefully we have that in October and then maybe the beginning of the year, we can do the public hearing and get all that through the city council and so.
Shaking his head, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the goal.
it's out of his hands right now. We were hoping to have that public hearing this fall, but that's not gonna happen. So once you guys look at it, then you would kick it to city council. If they like it, then we need to schedule a public hearing. So then we're looking at December at the earliest for a public hearing. So it's just the way it rolls, but we're gonna get there and it's gonna be much better than what we had. So. And I'm gonna be happy with it. So whether you guys like it or not, hopefully I do.
You're happy, we're happy.
Well, you guys weren't squawking that much about the old one. But I didn't like it. We had a lot of questions and they just went unanswered and so,
This seems kind of flat.
yeah.
It's flat.
So, the other
Nice
item
ride
that we
over
have
there.
is the sales. They're not on the agenda because they kind of all happened real quickly, but we can do that under other.
Well, let's just talk about it that way. Who wants to present?
Aaron, you want to introduce?
Yeah, enter.
Casey Kemp.
How you doing? Nice to
Yeah.
meet you.
So I sent that one email around to most of you.
You have an idea, apparently.
Well, I was supposed to meet Steve.
Steve?
This is Steve that I was supposed to meet up here to take a look at the amphitheater.
Oh, no,
That was
that's him.
probably me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was playing a trick on you.
Oh,
But,
okay.
no, I'm sorry. But I talked to Aaron, met Aaron down there, went over things, and kind of just did the best I could with what he kind of presented.
Right.
So,
We went over and just held up, I think, literally a tree.
So this is
Trimming.
Adam from C2A. He's our engineer.
Oh, okay, so with-
So we're kind of trying
you
to.
had sent him the information the other day then.
Correct, that you and
Late.
I talked about. So we're trying to bring it all
Right.
together now.
okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you came in and talked to me and I shot an email to Adam, said that you and Budnick have been working on some stuff. And so everybody's here in the room. Let's just figure this out.
Okay, Adam is an engineer, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So I don't know if she emailed you some information and thoughts of things that
Yeah,
we
we
had.
had some sketches for time of day and sun shadow and layout. There were trees in layouts, and then there was another set that was for coverage for the audience too, which set up to be protecting sun shadow to the stage.
So tell them your idea that you talked to me about.
Well, mine was similar, or it was somewhat of an idea to just go to the top row where the grass, where it's seating that's all notched, but the
Yeah.
top one, you would put poles in there,
Absolutely.
take material up. We were guessing, I mean, literally didn't put a ton of time into it and didn't do any engineering into it. It was pretty, but Basically,
Tell me what you did with the pole.
yeah, we took a pole over there, a tree trimming pole, ran it up at that time of day, stood down on the podium and seen where the shadow was to see if it would at least cover, the person who's down there entertaining. And come up with a number of around 20 to 25 foot was the number that we come up with for height. And that is going to vary. Of course, we did it last month, so that is already not, the sun has already changed considerably.
That's why I sent you the sun,
Right,
So
so
that
Bob
was
originally,
July.
he had done a sun, which I didn't know,
the sun study
a
kind
sun
of.
study to show exactly where the sun
Really,
was
this
gonna
is great.
be, which is a good idea because then you can base it on that.
Right.
And then we'll also base it on when we start using it in the summer. Because don't use it, if we, in the winter, we're not, it doesn't matter, the want sun. So our thought was, you take poles, just super simple, at the top of that last tier, right where the sidewalk is basically, and space them out, whatever the spacing could be. You would run up the netting to the top of that pole, and it could either go all the way to the ground, or it would literally go 6 foot from the top of the pole down, or 8 foot or 10 foot. It wouldn't affect the people sitting anywhere behind it or even up on the other concrete. They could see through it easy enough because it's above their sight line. But it would at least knock down the sun on the people who are entertaining, because that's kind of the goal. It wasn't so much to help the people out who are sitting there because they're facing away from the sun.
Sure.
I don't know about
You know
that.
how to throw it. That's how I work.
I mean, this is kind of an
This will be
interesting
good.
thought.
And literally, the seating is, and the sun's out here. So the night we started, we broke ground, or not broke ground, but cut the ribbon. We were down there.
We were cooking.
And you were
Cooking.
cooking. I mean, literally, it was crazy. So then if you take and do your entertaining on top of that, we weren't moving, we were standing there talking and we were melting. But this was right in June.
I was listening. I don't know what you were.
Well, you were sweating. Let's say. So, like I said, the sun is gonna change height and direction on these people that are down here. So this poles that we were thinking, like I said, again, simple. They could be flag poles, aluminum structures there. They're strong. I mean, I don't know how big they'd have to be to do the wind and all of that, but you take it up just like you're kicking a field goal. So it goes up, the entertaining goes on, it comes down, and it's gone. The poles are still there, but that's
So
it.
These are in a vertical application.
Correct.
Versus horizontal.
Correct. My original thought when we were there that night, I had thought about putting those poles, same thing, only angling them. So they'd be on an angle to help get them out over the crowd and get the shade out over the people. But I think they can be more vertical now that we've looked at it a little more. They could be just, and there's no sun really or a problem with anything over towards this side, even now when the sun is at its beginning to be at its lowest and at its further, because it's already started to come back south.
Right.
It's pretty interesting because most people don't pay attention to the sun. The house I just building set it up for southwest sun, and literally in the middle of the summer sets here or here in almost northwest, And in the middle of the winter, it's not directly due south, but southwest. And it's gone way down. It's lowered itself tremendously. But as summer, it comes up like this and then goes around and dumps clear over here. So I don't see anything needed the way that's set up to the, as we'd say, our left side at all, other than for maybe aesthetics. You're talking about the pictures I seen that he had. These are kind of triangles, aren't they?
Correct.
Same
Okay,
thing,
so, so the other triangle is this way,
Yep. They
okay,
didn't
but
lock.
then they're opposites.
Yep.
And they look cool.
It's the in thing, correct?
Yeah, it does look, I mean, it does look really neat and aesthetically pleasing and
Yep.
artistic, more than just, you know, a row of poles. But you, I'm assuming you're gonna need more tie downs in more locations. That's why this number of poles is considerably higher than what we had kind of come up with.
Gotcha, yeah. So I get this is a little bit different than what I talked to Aaron about, because we were thinking they were looking for the wind sails.
Right.
And what my quote was to completely cover the sitting area,
The audience
the
then,
audience area.
all of these spots.
Yep, from the
Okay.
bottom to the top, right to the top last tier there.
Okay.
And they would be made out of either like a umbrella or a mesh, to where I really steered towards a mesh is what you'd be looking for. That way, if you get a big rainstorm, it's gonna slowly go through there. You're gonna still get a little bit of light, and you're not gonna have a pool up with water issue with this umbrella. So what I was thinking was 8 triangles interlocking all the way around that audience.
So all the way from this point over here, wherever, to this point over there.
Correct.
Okay.
And that would just be, if you're saying you don't need that, the left side, that would just be aesthetic, you know,
Reason too.
to make it look correct. And what I talked to Aaron there, and he said, obviously, you're looking more for the shade on the amphitheater there. So what I would suggest is concrete footings, aluminum posts, and we go up about 24 feet, give or take, you
Right.
know, I was actually pretty close to what you were saying there. And then what those triangles would do was they would slope back towards the last tier of the amphitheater. And that way you're getting the most shade you could possibly get towards the amphitheater for the performer, and still covering your entire audience.
But as the sun comes down, I'm just thinking if you go up here 25 feet and you're gonna go,
No,
Opposite.
so the rear is
So-
gonna be about 10 feet
got
out,
it. Okay,
I would
so,
say.
so as the sun's coming down, it's literally not going underneath it. It's gonna equalize itself because this is gonna be lower here than this is here.
Correct.
Got it.
Another thing, all your rainwater should shed towards that top tier.
It never rains when they're performing. I just.
I've seen the post on Facebook. So at least it's not, with it going the other way, it would be pouring right into the amphitheater.
But how many posts would you be sitting then?
So I figured somewhere between, and I'd really have to go down there and dial this in, because what I figured is your first triangle is gonna be a different size than the second triangle. Because where the posts are gonna be placed and everything just kind of lining up. But I believe like 16 to 20 posts would get you to where you have 8 posts right in front of the concrete that's in front of the amphitheater. on
Which
the
is
ground.
down here where the concrete is. now.
Correct, but that is, but what I would do is I would put those right around the half, the moon there. And then I would take those and go right, well, the other post would be on the top tier. So you're saying 8-ish posts, or 8-ish posts on the front, 8-ish posts on the back.
Okay.
But that way, your triangles are interlocking, you would probably, obviously, you're gonna have a little gapping there because, you know, there might be a foot or something between the triangles.
Will those all set equally or would they be staggered?
I would set them all right at one. When you look at that from back here at the playground, it's gonna look sweet.
So it would look
Because
like,
it would just be interlocking and it would cover that whole audience. And
You've seen, it'll give you kind of a view like you've seen in some stadiums. So
Right.
professional stadiums where they'll have that
Yeah.
awning that goes over the top of the stands. It'll be curved and carry at that angle wrap around the stage itself.
how, that you might not know because it didn't put how far would that triangle, what's the distance of that then?
roughly 25 feet-ish, I believe,
In length?
in length from front to back.
Really?
Maybe it was 30.
That seems short.
I'd have to look at I don't have my exact measurements.
So that sail would basically be at the longest point, say 30-ish feet.
Yes, well, actually, it's gonna be 40 feet.
Okay,
So with the angle of the triangles, you're talking 40-foot sides and you're talking roughly, I did about, the first gap would be a 14-foot gap. So the sail would be just under 14 by 40. The second gap would be I believe it was 22 coming back the opposite direction by 40. So they would just kind of wrap around that whole entire section.
Will those block vision at all?
No, they shouldn't. I mean, you're talking, so why I suggest 10 foot in the rear is you're not gonna have kids jumping up there, grabbing onto this stuff.
Yeah, I don't need
you
kids
know,
reaching.
I mean, so,
so, and you're talking about this stuff going up and staying up for the period of time and then taking them down.
you would have to take them down.
Yeah, they don't winter, you don't, leave 'em up.
Yeah, I
they
mean,
They're
don't
also-
snow and all that.
yeah,
You don't have to take them up and down during the summer.
correct. Put it up in the spring, take it down in the winter.
Yeah, see,
So what
our
Mark
theory
said,
kind
yeah.
of was, although you could probably still do the same thing as take them up there in the summer and leave them. You know, it's just an out here deal. And if it was only, I was thinking originally for the reason of shading everyone was to take them all the way to the ground. Okay, but you can still see, there's plenty of that stuff that you can still see through fine. But the sun, it's a shade and the air still moves through it. So I was originally thinking you'd take it all the way to the ground because that way it would shade everyone.
Gotcha.
Okay, and then after looking at those pictures and stuff and seeing how they had done them and seeing that you could shade, you can basically shade, you put something here, but you're shading over there, same as what we were doing with the stick. I mean, you're putting the stick 50 feet away, but you're using it to shade something that's lower and, 50 foot away. So the other theory now coming to the head that if you took them up there to 25 feet and you dropped them down 10 feet, it shades all of the people down on the stage, doesn't shade basically anyone and doesn't take anyone's view away. You take them, put them up, and you leave them. For the summer.
For the summer, yeah.
Correct.
But it wouldn't shade any of the audience?
No, because well, it might shade down here at the lowest spot. I don't know. It depends on what that distance will be.
Yeah, everything depends on the time of day. and
Correct.
We're operating. So.
Correct.
Because I do think that the audience needs to be shaded as well. I mean, we're hearing that, people are like.
So
"Oh,
then say if you take them, like you're saying, a kid jump up, touch, you take them down to 8 feet, that's gonna be a big difference on where that's gonna hit down here,
Correct.
depending on where you, because like he's saying, he's only gonna have these at a certain 10 feet so that it would shade the whole thing.
And that's very,
And
I
it's-
mean, if you want it 7.5 feet, we can
Right.
make 7.5.
That's what I
If
mean.
you want it 10, we do it 10.
And that's just gonna make more shade for more people,
Correct.
depending on,
I think
Whether-
I mean,
the other key is to not take away the view from the, because those guys were all setting up there because it was underneath the
Was anybody gonna
roof
walk
so
out
that
there
they
and
were
take
in the
a
shade.
You guys wanna go out and take a look? I mean, cause that's the, the problem is people aren't just sitting in the amphitheater seating. They're sitting up on the hill, they're sitting at the pavilions.
The reason they were sitting at the pavilion was literally to get
Because
out
they
of the
want
sun.
shade, so you gotta shade the audience.
And the biggest problem we had with every single band that came here and was up, when they were up there, was they're dead in the sun and they couldn't even see. I mean, it's hard to entertain when you can't even see someone that's sitting right here.
So Casey, can you explain in your bid how many of these canopies were included in your bid?
So
And then
I,
I'm also curious to know how long they last, and if one were torn or vandalized or something, what you think it would take to do like a replacement or a repair.
Gotcha. So there is on the mesh, there is a 5-year warranty. There is, I believe that stuff ranges, there's anywhere from it lets 50% of sun through to it lets 10% of sun through.
Right.
So whatever that number is you guys are looking for, it's available. If somebody vandalized one of them, I could repair it most likely, depending on
How bad?
how
Yeah,
bad,
how bad.
how bad. But obviously, so what I would suggest is I would actually make the sales. I'm not gonna buy these sales from Amazon or something, because they're gonna last you 6 weeks probably, and they're gonna be shot. I mean, this is quality product. It's gonna, the longevity is gonna be there, and within that repair, you're probably talking, if you had to redo a sale, you're probably talking
If that's okay, you don't, you.
$3 or $4 grand.
Doesn't
it would probably, something like that.
I mean, if you
Yeah.
take that number and divide it by the ones you have, approximately
Well, we
that,
would insure it.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be insured and we would have an insurance deductible if it's more than,
And
Yeah.
truly, if we kept some of that product, on hand.
Right.
The extras, if somebody did vandalize that, you could still sew that, and you're gonna see it, you probably will, but you could patch that from the top side to where it's very, very unnoticeable.
well, they'll see it from Corona if they vandalize it.
the other thought, I guess, would be, is if you're looking at this then,
So I'm sorry, how many were included in your
8.
original bid? Okay,
Yep.
thank you. I'm
So
sorry, I didn't hear
8
that.
panels, there'll be 4 at 14 foot wide
Okay.
by approximately 40 feet triangle, and then 4 at roughly 20 feet by 40 foot.
Thank you.
those are basically in pies.
Yeah.
So that would also include, I would use Langsberg Concrete Company. I'd buy all my hardware at the Langsberg Hardware. I would try to keep everything as local as possible. My post would be, so obviously the posts are gonna be aluminum, not, if you run a 24-foot treated piece of 4x4 up there, it's never gonna last.
So we're not gonna, yeah,
So obviously aluminum post, well, caps on them. There will be a plate on them to where I can set them on my footings, drill them right into the concrete. So very secure.
but the post is gonna be there permanently.
Post will be there permanently, yeah.
That my other original thought from the beginning on the angle thing was to make them so that you just would take them out and cap that sleeve,
Gotcha.
you throw them in there in the summer and pull them out in the winter.
So technically you could still do that. I'd use some red heads, big concrete lags that would sit in there.
Put
It
your
would
sleeve
be-
in and then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would sew in mesh all the way around the pies to allow that, because there's gonna be a lot of tension, spanning 40 feet that's a long ways.
Right.
So I would sew in a 2 to 3 inch webbing all the way around these pies to where it will be able to hold up on that tension. To
And that-
where
tension, that is all gonna be cabled, I'm assuming.
So I would use a,
Or the rope.
no, I would use, oh, I can't think of the name of it. To where they twist and, you know.
Turnbuckle.
I'm sorry. I'd use a turnbuckle up there. So obviously the pie is gonna have to be smaller than my triangle between my posts. So there will probably be about, you know, roughly 1 foot between all the posts and where the triangles start. And that would allow me to turnbuckle those, tighten them up. and
So you're
keep them
using
secure.
you're using the sail as for the tension even. You're not putting anything in that or a cable to hold that. You're actually using that.
That with that webbing.
And then you're turnbuckling here, turnbuckling there, and that's what's tightening it.
Correct,
That's holding itself.
correct.
Okay, there's not a cable inside it to,
No.
all right, put it on. Just for,
Do you want a cable inside it?
no, it's just a,
We
It's
can put a
just
cable.
Yeah, it's just a loading thing at this
Right.
point, you know, what the wind
What
loads
is-
are and how that will be impacted by it. And some of that will be dependent on what angle those are actually at, because whether or not they're gonna see a lift or if they're pressed down, either way you're gonna get.
you get a 60-mile-an-hour wind.
Yep.
Will that material stretch and then start sagging, and you've got a turnbuckle you can retighten, but
Correct, yeah. I don't have the exact answer for that. I don't know what that wind, I could give you that information on what the stretching is on it and how much wind that can truly take.
okay, just for dollar reasons, could this be done? And I'm assuming it would be like considerably cheaper. You still build this netting or whatever it is, but if we just set these poles here and do just that section, that will do the same kind of thing, but maybe definitely wouldn't look as aesthetically pleasing.
Absolutely.
But we
But
could
it can
still
come
get,
up and down.
But
More
it-
of a screen versus the,
I like the idea that it can come up and down. I mean, what do
you
you,
could take it all the way up when it wasn't in use.
Comes down in the fall.
yeah,
then
put it up, put it up in
Yeah,
the summer
put it up.
before they do their first one, and then you take it down when we're done.
oh, I thought yours was going up and down.
Well, originally, yes.
Okay,
But in this case, we could literally set the poles, get your footage for your son, whatever that might be, say 20, we were just, like I said, just 20 to 22, 25. If it's 28, whatever that number is that works, and then you build that shade, whatever works again for sun, down to the place where you couldn't jump up and grab it, say 8 foot-ish or whatever that number is. Well, at 8 foot, what is the sun gonna do to cover these people? Of course, these people it's not gonna, but as you go down, it's going to cover them.
So the one thing to kind of keep in mind, and we're all talking concepts here, so dollars are gonna vary a little bit based on what we discussed, but when we put that up vertically like that, we have a higher wind load. that we're
Okay,
gonna be dealing with. And then we're gonna hoist it up higher, it's gonna really increase the size of
For the
those
pole.
poles
Yep.
in probably in diameter and probably the thickness of that pole strength.
right.
It'll also increase the size of the foundations that'll have to be there for a mounted foundation. Because it's just gonna have that much more load. Once you start adding cost to that, the fabric is probably a lower cost overall than what you're gonna have accumulated into the poles and the foundation. So if we're increasing those costs, it may not be as big of a cost savings.
I went down and looked at the flagpole down here. I don't know if you, when you go down the hill, and there's a flagpole there, and there's 2 huge speakers that we've also mounted on that. And that flagpole, I'm guessing, is probably on the base, maybe 10 inches. I would guess.
Yeah, probably in that range.
And it has the flag, and those are pretty heavy speakers, but they're gonna catch wind. And the same thing, you've put a pretty good size foundation down to hold that height, which holds the wind to keep, I mean, same with a light pole or anything else. This product that goes up lets air through, correct?
Correct.
Some,
To
but it's still gonna catch wind. I mean, no matter what you put up there, if it's a screen out of a window, if you hold it up in the wind, it's still bending because it's restricting wind flow.
Would that also depend on the degree of sunlight you're letting in? Would that also work with the wind? You said 10 to 50%.
I would have to look at that.
Assuming the mesh is cut bigger or smaller.
Exactly, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
no different than
I
the
got you.
screen in an Anderson window now. They have them so that they're dark and they let less sunlight in, but you can see out them. And then they have them so they're aluminum and you can see out them better. I mean, literally, same
Well,
thing.
Yeah, the less or the bigger hold mesh is gonna obviously take less wind, take less water to, leak through it. which
So I
also-
guess maybe if this isn't, I'm just talking dollars and cents again, same thing. We're throwing it out there. We're in the concept, not in exactly signing the contract. So the theory there is to eliminate an amount of poles. But maybe these poles would definitely have to be bigger.
Yep.
Taller, I don't know, maybe taller.
And as you increase height on the poles.
Yep.
You get into higher wind speed areas too.
Okay, yep.
So the taller we make those, the more likely we are to see higher wind speeds and what we see at the ground.
And then the more you drop that to the ground, the more surface you're picking up for a sail. So you increase more.
And what's versus, you're talking upright. So what's versus angle? As far as load,
Well, it changes what your loading is gonna be. So you go from it being a flat surface essentially, that's gonna catch all of the wind, to a tilted surface. Now, that allows wind to pass through it, but it also can get lift, right? So just like the shape of a sailboat sail or an airplane wing, when that's on a particular angle, the speed of the wind is going to pass over the top of it faster than it will underneath. And accelerated over that, create the pressure, and it's gonna pull up. So you'll get a different loading on that system than you will if they're just vertical.
That theory that if you were to stand over there and look, that I had originally thought is that those would come out of that ground just behind that last and go, on a, whatever that angle is, 30 degree, 28 degree, whatever that number is, and go up, and then it would shade all the people. But the only thought on that is if you do put that on that angle and those people are setting up there behind it, now have you taken and restricted their ability to see through it?
Right, if it's low enough, it will block the view from that.
Right, especially then, because now they're not looking through a screen on a flat 90 degrees. Now you've tilted it. As soon as you tilt it, it's black. I can't see through it.
But the other thing to keep in mind, if we're at a point where we can see through that product that well, it's probably not providing that much shade to the stage.
For stage there.
I mean, it will have some ability to take some of that out, but we're letting enough light through there so that you can see through it. We're still letting a bit of light through.
Have you designed or engineered any of this type of the pies similar to what he's talking about doing?
We have a couple of things that we've had in place,
So,
but it really just depends. And we've been talking a little bit about what to do and how to engage being able to cool that stage. And that options that we've been looking at have been primarily focused in and around the building itself.
the
If
one
we
that
look and pull this back, we still can do what you guys are looking to do. I see that as being a benefit to it. It's really just trying to tie down when is that stage used the most, and when is it the hottest on that stage.
so light up.
Well,
Yeah, well, so yeah, and are we ever using it in a midday scenario to early afternoon? Because in those scenarios, we'll be providing some level of shade to the audience, which will be good, but we won't provide any level of benefit to the stage itself. So if our typical operation for utilizing that is gonna be in that 5 p.m. and later, then trying trying to shade that stage from out in the audience area will be effective.
I think typically this summer, almost all the uses were in the evening. We had a Sunday afternoon concert, we had a couple of church services there. We had a few high school like events there, but those again were in the evening. So I would say, you know, out of all the things we had this summer, there may have been 3 or 4 events that were during the day. The rest were after 5. Which makes sense, even on the weekend, if, you know, if you're having a concert, I mean, there might be a time when we have a all-day thing, you know, starts, you know, 10 in the morning, does 10 at night or something, but you obviously can't shade for the entire time.
And you could do a combination of 2 different systems with that too, to provide a certain level of vertical shading for the stage itself, and then the offset for the more evening time, or you can do that with just a couple additional poles, and as long as this is the one thing that we had cautioned up, whether or not that structure is going to be able to handle the vertical attachments to the building itself. It's pretty stout. It has pretty sizable glulam beams on there. I gotta believe it can handle it, but we'd have to run through structural analysis before attaching anything to that and add a load to the whole structure.
With
itself.
your stuff wouldn't attach to the building, correct?
Correct.
It would just go to the furthest point that it would go would be the front of the concrete.
And it would still shade those bands.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as, I mean, what we really need to find out is that number. What is that number between 5 and 7 PM that is?
Well, now, at least we do
But I
have
think
that
Adam can
information.
Help us with that, right?
So that was what, when, I didn't know that Bob had done that originally, because, you know, sticking up.
I did the same thing,
but
so
you-
don't worry.
Exactly, and you can hold that there today, but tomorrow it's 3 minutes different, and it will be different. And okay, you can hold it there in June on the 1st, and you can hold it there on the 30th, and it will be different.
It's just like going to a football game right now.
Correct.
You stand down there first thing, if it's a sunny day, and you're gonna get blasted if you're on Lanesburg side by the sun. Bang.
So also, I think, and I'm not sure on what this does for you, but you know, if you could tie into the amphitheater, I mean, if you could run a, whatever that number is, a 10-foot wide panel down to the front of these posts on a, whatever, a 35-degree angle, just to give that just stage shade. I mean, talking, I mean, it's not a huge cost in a panel that's.
The only thing with
8 to
that
10 foot
is
wide. It's gonna be a little oddball,
the
but
look like it.
but it would serve the purpose. I
Yeah.
understand, but just an option, you know, and if you guys.
Well,
wanna
I mean,
do
I think that
something-
we have a lot of things at play here. We want it to look good, right? We, you know, obviously our full intent is to shade the musicians, and I think the audience needs some shade too. So those 3 things need to play into whatever our solution is.
I think more people will come when you have it shaded too, when, you know, they're not.
Or-
sitting
and they'll
out in the
stay.
heat. Right.
You know, I mean,
Well, there's no doubt that they were all trying to get underneath the roof for a reason.
Yeah.
Especially older people. I mean, some of them just sit right in the sun and be, because it's still 32 below 0 for them, and it's 98, but. But most of them wanted to get in the shade. Usually you don't blame them when it's 90 and. But I know that when we were standing up there on the white concrete and there's no air
It was
really there, you're just cooking. So it's
and it
really
was
bad
hot
for
that
them.
day. It really was hot that day.
And being able to get sound projection that we're looking for from that stage as well, and how that is impacted by what materials and what angles, those are all set at, can be a consideration. The other
Yeah, I
thing
think
we're
we
gonna
definitely
take-
need to keep that into consideration too. I think
Let's say if we were, can you take his theory and put it on paper? Can you, or can you get it drawn somehow so that we could get a visual of it?
Sure.
Of any way?
And with what level we need for the most impact. Because height wise, that might change things a little bit.
And then he could kind of come up with a plan based on that, a little more solid.
Yeah, it really, yeah, I need to know how
Right,
tall it has to be.
right.
With a few measurements, I can tell you, should be able to give you a real close number on.
But you can get 40 foot out of these
But
sails.
these guys have they have the measurements of the whole area.
And the
I mean,
audio,
the measurement of I mean, everything's
Yeah,
already.
you have that on CAD anyway, you know, I mean, you can.
I don't know if I have the CAD file, but I have the drawing files.
Yeah. I mean, Mike might have a CAT file, I don't know, or Bob, I don't.
Bob
Bob
should,
would have the CAD
he have
file.
more than easy, I mean,
But we can take a look, yeah, I'm sure we can take. a
if he
look
has
at
the
what
sun
that-
direction, then he has the direction that that's facing, correct? I mean, and then he's got the sun, so he's gotta have, you gotta be able to figure the height and that and the direction of the.
Yeah, they program that, there's a couple of different software packages, and we have some of those as well, where, so it allows you to be able to sketch the structures and what you're trying to get from them, and then you can adjust what the time of day and the day of the year is, and it calculates the sun angle based on that for, project shadows.
Well,
We do that for buildings.
I think if we, I don't know if you need money or we need to hire you, however that's working or going to work.
Center City is already paying him to do this, so, I mean,
Yeah.
seriously,
But if we can, it's stupid not to put some thought into this and get it, at least, in my opinion, on paper so that we can see it and then make a judgment and then go from there. And I don't have any problem. I have no idea about the bid if they're interested in this way too high. And maybe they're thinking this is fine. I don't know that, but if we don't at least put some effort into making sure that whatever it is you're going to try to do even. And we get it, and we get it up there, don't
it's
worry,
gotta meet all
or it's
the
not even
needs,
close
you
to
know.
working. We've really thrown away the taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
So we need to at
So
least,
can I get specific products that you're looking at utilizing?
Yep.
And then it gives me an idea of plug into that.
Okay.
And, so you're doing aluminum poles.
Yep.
I'll need to kind of know what diameter size that you're essentially looking at, so we can put that model together. Absolutely visual.
and
We need
wall thickness and height
Well,
and,
at this point, I think we probably don't have to get too detailed there, but if we have, what we want to be able to see is what is this gonna look like? We're gonna have a bunch of poles. There are gonna be some visual impacts from the audience to the stage from having that. Sometimes it's something you pick up, sometimes you won't. So
don't make it Tiger Stadium, because I'm not sitting behind the pole.
I'd like to see a picture with the covering, as you mentioned, over the stage, if it could be attached anyway, just to see how it would look.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could get a,
And really, now that you say that, and truly, you could almost. This does for your side of things, but maybe visually do one on each side. To where it looks aesthetic, aesthetically correct there. That way, it's not just one oddball panel there. You're kind of, and maybe that's a different color or.
well, that was my
a
other
little
thought was,
different.
you can,
We put the city emblem on it over the stage.
do you just lap that and sew it, or do you sew it with a different material? Or do you do a different color
For what's that?
for your sails for each one?
So what I would think you're just looking for color preference or,
Can it be a color?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it can.
Okay,
They're kind of limited, but I believe red and black.
Okay.
What I would envision is a red, a black wind sail and then a red one coming back and then just rotate every
Sure.
other. And I think it would visually give it kind of a wow factor.
So if I could jump in, I would be really interested in just really seeing your professional recommendation on what we should do. Because otherwise, one fear I have is that we could run a lot of different scenarios. I mean, we could cast 10 different scenarios and we could, I wouldn't want you and you to both have to run too many scenarios. I would be really interested in seeing one or two scenarios that you think would really work, that would do the job.
Yeah.
And then I would like to see that scenario maybe broken down into pieces, like if we just did that piece, what would that cost? Or if we did that piece, what would that cost? Or if we went a little longer or a little larger, what would that cost? But to not, my recommendation is that we don't have Casey and the engineer run a lot of numbers and testing all different kinds of scenarios that they don't professionally think would even work.
Well, I think that now that they've gotten on the same page, now he can determine what needs to be built somewhat, correct?
Right.
Via the sun,
Right.
and then it'll be easier for him to come up with a number now, I think, correct?
Correct.
Accurately.
We're just looking at one scenario right now, right? There's triangles over
Right,
the,
but it
I
could
think
be,
so.
but they could be bigger panels, or they could be upright, or they could be angled, or they could be that long, or they could be that long. I'm just concerned that
Do you guys think that this,
I don't want them to have fatigue on running too many.
this original
scenarios.
theory of just doing it this way and not all of the other things?
Mark's plan is straight up and down.
I don't know.
Well, it's not, it's straight up and down, but it's curved still to match. There's less poles, and it's just it's, he'd still build us this, whatever it would be, whether you do half of it black and half it red, or all black or all red or whatever. And it's, I think now, if the sun will work, I mean, it's how low you drop that, if it will work accordingly.
Yeah, I'd like to see this scenario on the picture, is it upright, is it tilted, is it that long, is it that long? I'd like to see the scenario that you think is the best.
Yeah, and that's up
That's
to
what
you guys.
that's what I'm suggesting, rather than us dictate to you what it should be. Maybe you guys figure it out and come back to us with your recommendation, and then break it down into pieces to say, this piece of it is that much and this piece is that much.
Yeah.
Because I think I also heard the idea of maybe it's just one banner in front of the stage that just protects the people on the stage. Maybe that's one component. Maybe there's a separate, maybe, do we do one? Do we do A or B or both? And what does that cost?
Yeah.
That's what I'm interested
And I think this idea around the outside is awesome. I like that the best, but it doesn't, it really, if 10% or 50% of sunlight can come through it. I had a couple of these when I had daycare, and they were see-through like that. They let so much sun through up around the back, but they aren't really that see-through, right? I mean, there's the people that are all out here, they're gonna lose a lot of visual if you drop it low enough to shade the people in the bowl, out the bowl. You know what I mean?
Right.
That idea seems like the best, but if you do try to shade those people sitting down in that thing, you'd have to go pretty low to the ground with the screen, right? Or no?
I don't.
See, that'd be the question. If
I don't
you
think-
didn't, if
I
you
don't
could-
think so.
If you could
No,
go
I
like
don't
10 feet off, then it would,
well, and
be
that's, I
slick.
like that idea when Mark originally posed it, because I thought that we could put them up like a flag, take them down. put
and you
'em
could do them separate.
Yeah,
It
they
wouldn't
wouldn't have
be
to be
one
up
big
all summer.
giant thing.
But they were mainly for the event.
And that's probably something, not volunteering you, but that's probably also something in your wheelhouse, right? Some more like a screen per se than more like a vertical screen system than
Oh, it's very doable. I mean, that's also doable. It just, again,
you could calculate
I don't
too,
know
putting
what
where like brakes would go so that it would allow wind to go through. You know what I mean? If you could do 2 panels.
You have to remember, it's hard to visualize, but this panel that comes down to 8 foot off the ground, the sun is considerably higher in the sky still. So the shadow is not,
Back here.
it's not here, or it may be here. And then it will move as the night goes on, and then the sun may come all the way to here. But the sun, as it's going down, it's getting cooler too.
Mhm.
So some people might say, I'm gonna sit in the top row tonight because I want the sun on my back. And some people might say, it's too freaking hot, I'm going to the bottom,
Mhm.
because they've been there now, figured it out, because the sun will move. And they're saying, I'm getting down here out of the sun completely, and I don't care. I'll
Well,
never,
Right.
As long as you're not affecting the people who are setting up here,
Right.
because this is high enough,
But I see you're saying if
and you
it's
can
10
see
feet
underneath
under.
it.
Now, would there be any advantage rather than being tilted out of the ground such as this, that if you went straight up and actually had a extension of like a backstop where it just folds over enough where it will throw a shadow out over across?
You have that,
Vent.
that form that you showed me. The one that they had, that picture of the one that is like an angle.
Like a baseball backstop.
Correct,
kinda.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And it's over a picnic table area, and they did the same thing. They have steel structure. It's coming up out of a retaining wall. Steel structure comes up and does your angle, and the mesh is on it. It's up off the steel structure a little ways, and then this top is meshed, but it shades that area. But I was thinking when I saw that one that she showed me, I thought, you're getting into a bunch of money again. I mean, you're raising the level of cost.
The complexity in maintenance as well starts to come into play. So you're gonna have, if, for what you'll get for benefit of trying to bring that in, it's only gonna provide a little strip when the sun is vertical, the back area. I get a little concerned with what Dave's gonna run into with some of these systems too. One to keep in mind is that the taller we make these to make it work for what we need to be able to shade the stage and the audience, the more cumbersome it is for something to address putting the stuff up and
Right.
taking it down.
Right.
And if we put a system in play that you can hoist and take care of from the ground, so can everybody else. And we have people playing around with the system or potential vandalism for being able to take this stuff down while it's not being watched. So I think that's something we're gonna have to put into consideration as we're looking at this, or we have to get a cherry picker to be able to get up and put the system up and take it down every year. How do we get access down at this location, be able to do that, so something like that.
This the theory still in my head is that we were talking like 22 feet, but I think that it may not be 25 feet. It may not be 30 foot. It might be 20 to 18. I don't know, but that's, if you can run the numbers and figure that out, that plays into the whole situation of what we have to build. Right?
Part of that, though, that number is gonna be because the front is so much lower than the back tier. The front, to make that back tier 8 or 10 feet, that front has to go up, I think it's roughly 6 foot lower. The amphitheater floor there is 6 foot lower than. So then and then to give it enough slope to be shedding water. Just something to also think.
So the
about.
front poles would be
Those
huge.
front poles are gonna be
They
very tall.
have to be
Correct.
because you're
Gotta get it
gotta
good.
be tall
High
enough,
enough.
just like if you go 10 foot, you're not gonna have.
Enough fall to get us.
Yeah, well, and you're not gonna hopefully have the vandalism part of it, I
Right.
would think, but I mean, whatever. It's 2021 also, so it's, anything's possible, but it's less likely to happen being 10 foot instead of 8 foot.
In your experience, what's probably the best, I'm gonna say the degree of the netting from 10 to 50%? What is,
I don't think it honestly matters as long as it's, I mean, I'd have to look up, construction slope, but, as long as that is shedding water, and I feel like because the front is gonna be on such a high plane, I mean, I think it's gonna be, it might be 6 foot over that 30-foot span. So I mean, I don't know exactly what that
adjust,
number has to be to get rainwater to be, shedding off. It's good. I have a feeling it's gonna be so extreme that it's there's not gonna be any question of this is gonna be safe.
or what I mean is, I guess maybe I didn't explain myself, is you were saying, unless I misunderstood, that there's a degree of the netting from 10% to 50% as far as light coming through.
Gotcha.
What is your recommendation in that percentage for an average or what you run into that seems to work? I mean,
And everything's gonna be to the job, really, because there's not I mean,
If you put it up
You want-
vertically or horizontal, vertically, it's gonna, you want more. If you put it up on a 30-degree angle, you want less.
yeah.
Because the sun's gonna do its, and being on an angle is gonna do its duty by cutting it in two. And if you turn it up like this, just like I was talking about the screen, you're going to be able to make it more shaded because you don't want the light to go directly through it.
Everything's really job specific.
Yeah.
To, if you don't want 10% of light coming through that, if you want it dark and shaded, I mean, that's the product. I mean, it's very high quality product where it's good stuff. And I just feel like that, I guess
but you just told me 10% is what you really would recommend. I mean, which I don't care. I'm just going by your professional.
Well, no, what I would do is I would come to you and say, do you want 10%? Do you want 20%? Do you want 40%? You know, and I guess I don't know. I guess maybe that's go out there and you know, hang a piece of it.
Or
and
you just even,
see that option of
stand down there and look through it and see how
silly
much
as it might
shade.
be to go, that's the best option for us, or, you know, we want a little more light than that.
Okay.
So I could get some samples and show you that. So,
You guys get the gist of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
And we're not trying to spend a gazillion dollars, of course, and we're not trying to, like, we don't want to look terrible and be cheap at all. That's not that's not what we're after either. So we need it to work.
Right.
So whatever we are putting up there and however much we spend, it doesn't matter. We need it to work.
But it needs to
So-
be cheap.
Yeah.
Inexpensive.
Yeah, there you go.
I will find, you wanted to know what the stretch on it was? That material, how much it stretched?
I was interested in that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I would assume that tensile strength of it or whatever. I'm assuming.
Yeah, depending on the material, it'll
Yeah.
have the ability to stretch and then regain its original shape. With the mesh, it could hit a plastic point where it actually distorts
Right.
at the loading and not go back. That just depends on what we're looking at. Since we're talking about triangular shapes, it's a little easier to get that as more of a continuous, maybe more evenly loaded on it, so I wouldn't expect to see too much of a problem. If we get into some unusual shapes, you can have it stretch portions of it out and then not function very well, so it's just.
You guys know what we're talking about. Come up with a theory.
I think it was really helpful.
Yeah,
having, you know,
definitely.
Everybody in the same room, because if I was trying to explain this conversation to Adam, that would be very difficult. So, I
don't know how
mean,
you could have
I
followed
was
it.
glad that you were able to come, so I appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, cool. I think it will be cool. It'll look good and it will work.
Time frame for installation on a job like that. I know you got cement, you got.
I was
poles.
gonna say, what are you guys looking? Is this a next year's deal?
Oh, yeah, I think we would, I mean, if we can pull it off, I would think we'd like it for next season.
Yeah. So you'd start after the frost goes out of the ground or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're talking about,
I'd have to ask a couple, because what would truly be really nice is get the footing set. And I don't know if that's something that could be done before winter, but boy, that would be a huge step in the right direction to then
if you can come back with
Because-
something by
because-
next month,
truly, I can't come in here, I mean, until my posts are set, I can't build that triangle windscreen
Right.
or windsail. Because I don't know what that measurement is, and, you know, moving that post 3 inches is gonna change
Change everything.
everything. So if it is something that is that serious that you guys really would like next summer, I think it's, you know, getting that concrete footings and getting those posts set, and even if that's removal of the post, just, and me getting some hard measurements on those panels, that would be, I'll have them ready in the spring.
So
But-
again, I think I'd be interested in knowing how much of the budget should be allocated then to that part of the task.
Okay.
So that we know what we're working with this year, calendar year, and then what the balance would be to get the job done next calendar year.
Seems like you're gonna need to be here next month.
We need you here
Well,
next month.
I'm kind of looking at him because it's all about,
We're gonna be best friends here.
So-
by the
yeah.
end of this.
it's kind of all about the engineering of it, literally. I mean, trying to at least figure that out.
Making sure that this gonna
Work.
look what you guys are wanting to see.
All right, cool. Dave, you got something? You look like you
Come
want
on,
to go
Dave,
home
you
and
must
go to
have
bed.
something.
I think you got tired.
He wants supper and a.
Paige still trying to catch up with Sam.
All right, cool. Thanks a ton. And we're very interested.
Yep.
And it's just a matter of maybe fine tuning and see what we come up with, and then if we could see it, so you can visually see what it would look like, maybe of some sort. We'll go from there.
It'd be a pleasure to do it on my end, and I just love driving by things that I've done and just am proud of the stuff I've done and had a lot of good results.
Thanks.
Could I get your name?
Mike,
Mike.
the mayor.
Mike, okay. And then not Steve.
Not Steve, it's Mark.
Mark.
Okay.
All
Your name?
Paula Willoughby.
Okay, okay. Just be nice to put a name to a face.
Anybody else got anything else? Any questions? Let's get out of here.
You got his email and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you sure they were
Great
just-
question.
Okay. I'm hungry, so I will try. Yeah.
Geez, you stayed for the long haul, Chris.